Hey, sawa. Woza, every Kenyan. Woza to every non-Kenyan. Yes, we are here once again. It is indeed KENYAFRICAN, KENYAFRICAN, KENYAFRICAN to the world. 254 to the world. Yes. We are indeed at the Nairobi Arboretum. I just want to continue with this endeavor that we started some few weeks ago with you guys. Today we are talking about our number 5 tree. I believe we are meant to also speed up this process because we are not gonna take 3 whole days surely talking about one tree. Some other trees are important that we need to talk about them. So of course we are going to allow time for each tree, but I've found myself with a lot of time, and that's why I have decided to speed up this process. So today we are talking about our number 5 indigenous tree according to the KENYAFRICAN Nairobi Arboretum database. I want to welcome each and every one of you. Of course, the tree that I'm talking about is right behind me. Do you see it? Do you see it? Yes, this tree here is called the East African Yellowwood tree. Okay? Commonly known as Podo here in Kenya. But the official scientific name is Podocarpus Falcatus. Now, are we together? I just want you to look at its expanse, okay? Such a tree is about 30 to about 35 meters in height, and they usually grow from about 25 meters to about 35 meters in height, and sometimes taller in mountain regions. Okay, now this tree, of course, is widely known around Kenya. Why? Precisely why? Because of its timber. Its timber is very light and very durable. Okay, this tree, apart from it being an evergreen tree, apart from it being able to store carbon much efficiently, this tree, the one that you are seeing behind me, in Kenya, we say it is Kenya's own yellowwood. I believe I should redo that and say it much better. The Podocarpus Falcatus, also known as the Eastern African Yellowwood, also known as Muthengera by its Kikuyu name, Muthengera. I repeat again, Muthengera. Okay? This tree behind me, it is Kenya's own yellowwood. Now, allow me to also state something that is also quite important. Now, the tree that we are seeing behind me is not an exotic pine. It is indeed an African conifer. Okay? Yes, and we also, I remember I did quote and I did explain what a conifer is. Okay? This tree relates closely to the juniper family. Closely. Okay? Remember, I've said closely. Yes. A beautiful tree. The descriptive features. That is where we are headed on to next. Of course, we are at the Nairobi Arboretum nursery. If you can see where I'm at, we of course were doing some cleaning here. We of course have the guy who's supposed to be taking care of the trees, seedlings, and nursery in whole. Of course, he's back there on top of a tree. The guy wearing red is of course trying to fetch or trying to get some fruits from that Japanese loquat tree. Oh, Japanese medlar, sorry. A loquat is also called a Japanese medlar, by the way. And that is also a tree that we are going to cover eventually in this fine and beautiful documentary or series, whatever you might choose to call it. Now, we are headed to describing the bark of this beautiful tree, known as the Eastern African Yellowwood, also known as the Podocarpus, also known as Podo, Muthengera in Kikuyu. Of course, you can see the bark. It is grayish to dark brown. Of course, you can see it. And the trunk of such trees, of such podo trees, are usually straight. Okay, you shall find the trunks of most podo trees to be straight. Okay, it is what provides the basis for their tallness. Okay, they grow tall, and of course, for that they need to have a strong and a straight foundation. Now, of course, it was also medicinal, but not like the other trees. Poa, habari ya leo? Niko kwa mtandao kidogo. Hapana. Bado.
Ndio ile pale ama wewe huwezi pata pale.
Hiyo sky flower nikulete?
Sky flower ni gani?
Ile
unaona iko kwa bambu pale?
Hiyo inakaa yellow.
Si
ndio sky flower nitakuletea?
Sijui hata kwa kizungu.
Nikuletee ngapi?
Sijui, wewe utaona hapa uone ni mpali ngapi. Unajua mkubwa niambia nipande hapa na akinipata sitapanda.
Ni sawa. Ni sawa.
Unajua mambo yake?
Ni sawa.
Tugombana kweli.
Nitakupanga. Sijasahau.
Otherwise uko sawa?
Niko poa, naongelelea hii mti inaitwa podo.
Podo. Ni mzuri sana.
Ni mti mzuri sana.
Na ile inaitwanga? Inaitwaje? Na jina lingine iko hapo na msahau.
Inaitwa iko huko ndani.
Miracle tree. Unajua?
Miracle tree lakini haiko huko ndani.
Hatuna. Iko hapa, si ndio?
Haiko hapa. Utahitaji miracle tree pia? Nitakuulizia, kuna mali nilikuwa nimeisikia lakini. Oh, sorry. We are still live, of course. Dealing with clients is something that we do, and we like engaging with clients. Okay, remember, we always say the client is always right. Never argue with a client. I am not ever supposed to argue with you. Okay, of course, this information is something that we exchange between man and man. Okay, if you choose to be, if you say you are educated and you understand what you are choosing to buy, then I choose to be okay with that. But it is always important to seek recommendations and suggestions from the one who you're buying tree seedlings from. Of course, let's go back to our topic and to what we are talking about, that big beautiful tree behind me. Yes, the Eastern African Yellowwood. Of course, we have the nursery. I just wanted to show you some seedlings of the podo. Let me just look for the seedlings and I'm gonna show you. Oh yes, I've seen them. Feel free, guys. I told you that this is the Nairobi Arboretum. Okay, whenever you need matters education about trees, about Kenyan trees, about Kenyan forests, the best place to do your sampling, the best place to get your research from is here, right here, and not with anyone else other than me, your one and only guy, Kenyan African. Of course, Kenya. Here we go. These are our seedlings, the podo tree seedlings. Of course, let me take this one here, and it is, of course, nimeamua nifanye marketing kidogo bana. Uko aje? Sawa. This here is our Eastern African Yellowwood. Yes, the tree that you guys commonly know as Podo. I believe it is, yes, it is the same tree behind me. So let's do a 360 of the tree behind me. Yes. This is the tree we are calling Muthengera. A brief history, maybe for cultural heritage. You know, even before pines, even before the conifers that we talked about, the pines and the cypresses, even before them, because such trees were slowly introduced here in Kenya, even from our neighboring countries. But something that you will know that has lasted in our highlands and in our mountainous forests for ages, even long before, I even dare to say even long before colonization. Yeah. This tree you see here, this tree, yes, this tree called Podo, Muthengera, the Eastern African Yellowwood, had been thriving in our forests for long ago. This is to mean what? Such a tree is of course slow growing, but it is hardy, very, very hardy. Let me tell you something, something that you might also need to check and Google. This tree grows and stays for even almost more than 500 years. To an extent, I even dare say more than 700 years. Yes. Now, when I tell you that this tree has been there protecting our ecosystem even before we found Kenya to be as Kenya, do you understand the importance of conserving our living organisms? This living organism that I'm holding here is so important. It how am I to say this? It found its importance even before I came to be. Of course, there were men long time ago. Inaenda kwa YouTube. Eh, niko na channel huko. Sawa. Inaitwa KENYAFRICAN. Sawa. Of course. Subscribe, follow our channel. Yeah. We of course learning. This is something educational, something to do research on. Of course, let me engage the nurseries guy here, also called Brian. Brian, salimia watu, uko aje, uko poa? Makeos? Yeah. Uko poa? Wagwan. Yes, let's continue. Now, this podo tree, we have a lot of podo trees here in the Nairobi Arboretum. Why am I choosing to tell you this? This is the reason. You will find that such trees, I've told you that it's timber. It is commonly known that the timber of an Eastern African Yellowwood is light and is very durable. And it is also good for construction materials. Of course, most timbers gained from most trees are good, but they are the best trees, for the right timber. Even sometimes for making jewelry. Such a tree, that tree called Podo. We've said it's called Podocarpus. Yes, such tree has been so useful. And because of its use, you will find that most trees that are related to that podo, or most similar trees, most podo trees here in Kenya are not mature. Most of them, they are young. Because of why? Because most mature trees were back then used, like massively used. They were massively cut down and fell for construction materials and for uses. like making jewelry, making joints, The podo tree right now needs conservation and protection. That is why you are going to find most podo trees here. And not only here, of course, in most protected areas, of course protected by the Kenya Forest Service, which is the main authority protecting our forests. Of course, sometimes they do that in conjunction with community association and friends, but it is the main and the legal authority. Please take note of that. It is the main and the legal authority. Now, I wanted to show you a path that when you come by here in the Arboretum and you need to walk in a path that is filled with podo trees. Now, we have so provided for that here at the Nairobi Arboretum. How do I mean? Now, we have one path that we have so decided to call the podo path. This path is about 365 meters. And of course, I'm going to show you a path. Sure. Yeah. So close to the nursery. Actually, so close to the lower gate. For those of you who are coming from Westlands and Kileleshwa, this is the main gate that you mostly pass by. Now, this path called the podo path is so close to that gate that you must choose and want to pass through it if you want to at least get a picture and to feel the fresh air, of course being provided for by this beautiful tree we call the podo, the Eastern African Yellowwood. Of course, I'm talking about that path shower. Of course, we've named it the podo path, and I've told you it's about 365 meters. Of course, it goes that way into the forests. Now, I want you guys to feel free. Please comment. Tell me, what do you call this tree according to your mother tongue? Of course, according to your own tribe. Okay? What do you call it? I've told you according to the Kikuyu tribe. I am from the Kikuyu tribe. We call it Muthengera. Tell me down there in your comment section. And of course, for those who are willing to also send pictures, send me. Of course, we have very many types of podo. You are going to realize that there is a particular type of podo that grows in wetter, mountainous, highland areas. Okay? Tell me about it. Tell me its name. Let that be our homework for today. And I love an engaging community. So let's make sure we are engaging. Okay? Tell me what you'd like to see about this tree. Let me also try and spot another one for you so that you do not find an excuse that I only showed you one. We have a lot of these trees here. Sorry. Okay. Just to point you to one, so that you understand the vastity of this broad varsity that we have here. We have a bigger podo tree that I'd love for you guys to see. Of course, I'm walking in the cabro, so I'm headed straight up. About 10 meters from where the actual tree is. Yeah, this tree is about 15 to about 18 meters in height. It is a podo tree. It is a podo tree too. Yes, I have seen it. Waza, once again, I remind you to follow, hit that like button, subscribe, ensure you learn something about this tree today. East African Yellowwood tree. This tree behind me, okay, we call it the podo tree. You can see it in its expanse, of course, just right at the Cabro. Why would you run by this Cabro road and not be able to identify a tree so close to where you are running? Okay, so close. This tree here, of course, you can spot it from the back. Dark brown back, of course, to grayish. We also need to look at the leaves so that you guys are aware of what we are talking about here. Just look at the leaves. Okay, let me try and look at these leaves. Okay, the leaves are about 10 to 15 centimeters. Yes, centimeters. Of course, they are evergreen. The leaves are pretty narrow and pointed, of course. Yes. There's a fresh aroma. Coming from grinding the leaves. Okay. Yes, I hope you've heard something important. I hope you've learned something as we continue moving along this path. I remind you once again, we are here at the Nairobi Arboretum, and this is your one and only guy, KENYAFRICAN, to the world. Of course, from the 254 to the world. I love you guys. Today I did show you seedlings. Yeah, we have seedlings. Yes, for those of you who can't be able to find the yellowwood seedlings, here you are going to find them. I love you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This has been our number 5 indigenous tree according to the database that KENYAFRICAN is following. Okay. Of course, we are going to cover about 130 plus tree species. We've just done 5. Okay. We are doing the most commonly known, the most with cultural heritage, the most with most known uses. Allow me to close this gate. Yeah, we good. See you tomorrow when we talk about our next tree. Guys, I'd also really love to see recommendations from your side. Let me know what you'd love me to talk about. Of course, we have many trees here, both indigenous and exotic trees, and I'm hoping to manage about 70 indigenous trees, and then we're also going to manage about 70 or maybe 60 exotic trees. Continue walking this journey. I am yours, KENYAFRICAN, 254 to the world. Wagwan.